Okay, folks, how are you? Good evening. It's Brent McMahon, and welcome to Brent McMahon's My 15 Minutes on YouTube and Brent McMahon 3 on TikTok and Instagram. So today we're going to talk about weight loss. One of our viewers emailed in, and her name is Susan. She said she's very frustrated. She's been trying to lose weight for the last 6 months and has had little to no success, and she's super frustrated and just doesn't know what to do. And here's the thing. If you're 20 years old and you're ripped and you're in the gym all the time and you're a gym rat and you've got a 5% body fat, we're not talking to you guys, okay? You're doing fine. That's not the issue. But you know what? There's millions of Americans and people across the world that are 20, 30, 40, 50, even 100 pounds overweight.
In fact, it's so bad, some call it an epidemic. But these are the facts. America's obesity has not doubled, it's tripled in the past 50 years.
And those are the people that we're really trying to talk to here in this video. And our goal is to try to give them as much help as we can. I've personally experienced it and gone down. Right now, I probably could actually lose about another 10, which I'm working on. So I know personally the frustration that can come from this and the challenges that are involved in weight loss. And here's the bad news. It doesn't get any easier as you get older. There's the facts. And hey, weight loss can be a daunting challenge for a lot of people. It can be like you're looking up at Mount Everest and you got to climb it. Well, if you're not a climber or an experienced climber, how are you going to go about doing that? Here's my advice and my take for being at this game for now close to 40 years. My advice is you're going to take one step at a time. I think a lot of people fail because they come out of the gate blasting. They're gonna be training every day. They're gonna be lowering their calories and restricting them dramatically, and it just creates too much of an environment where there's too many opportunities to fail. And then once that happens, you get a setback. And probably like Susan, you get frustrated. I've been there where, you try to do things right and you start off at, say, you're 200 pounds or 150 pounds. You want to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds. And at the end of that week, you step on the scale. You start on day one on a Sunday. You weigh in the following Sunday. And you're right back where you were. You're at that same weight, 200 pounds. And you're like, how can that be? I've worked so hard. I've done this, I've done that. Here's the thing. So what I'm going to talk about today is the simplest way that if we're tackling this like you're looking at Mount Everest, what are the first steps we can take to try to achieve this goal? And that's where I really think that intermittent fasting is the single best thing you can do if you're in that category where it's 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight, right? If you can hit the gym and you can run and you can diet and all these things, well, God bless you. This isn't probably the best advice. But for anybody else that's taken on the challenge, failed, or had some success and then had a setback, the intermittent fasting program is the best way to go. And let's talk a little bit in detail about what that is and why I personally believe that this is the easiest route to go. If you're going to go on one of these restrictive diets, whether it's keto or whatever it is, let's face it, everywhere you drive and go, there are all these food sources, fast food, 7-Elevens, everywhere else that, the food isn't going to be conducive to what you're trying to accomplish. Even when you go in the supermarket, you know what they say, it's the outer aisles, not the ones right in the middle. So it's just difficult. It can be challenging from that perspective. Maintaining any kind of a diet, whether it's keto, calorie restricted, or whatever it is not a walk in the park. It's not that it can't be a successful way to lose weight. It's just not, in my opinion, the easiest. That's why I go back to the intermittent fasting. So let's zero in on that. What is that? So basically here it is. You've got 24-hour clock. So if I'm going to go to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock, some of you guys, it might be 2, it might be 3, whatever it is, you're going to stop eating at a specific point. So you got to pick a time in that cycle of that 24 hours where you're cutting it off. Now, if you tell me you're never going to eat any more sugar again, you can't have a donut, you can't have any ice cream, all these restrictive things, to me, that's a difficult task. If you tell me, hey, I just got to stop eating at an hour that I'm going to pick, That's not an impossible thing to accomplish, right? That's the reason I like this. So let's just use, for example, you're going to stop at 9 o'clock at night, okay? And we're going on an intermittent fasting routine. Okay, at midnight, we've gone 3 hours. Now we're going into the next day. If you rise at 7 or 6 or whatever time you get up, 5 for some people or even earlier, we're going to try to go as far as we can before we take on that first meal. And I don't think it's entirely impossible if you can stretch that to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Okay, Okay, now we're getting into that. We got 3 hours on the front half, started at 9 p.m., went to midnight. Now we get to 9 o'clock the next day. We've gone 12 hours. So half of the 24-hour cycle has now been we fasted, which takes a lot of pressure off that digestive system. And now you're really only eating for half the day. That's an accomplishment. Now, if you can take that a step further, and let's say we go to 10 a.m., okay, or I try to shoot personally for 11 a.m. Try to make sure I don't eat anything after 9 o'clock at night, and then the next day I can typically roll till about 11 o'clock or later. Just to add to this, they're saying that this is the best way to stop the aging process, that they've studied mice, they've studied these rats in labs and found out that the number one thing that causes aging is eating consistently and overeating. There's a lot of benefit to this from many different directions that I think you really need to zero in on for health and for weight loss. So getting back to what we're talking about with the intermittent, pick that time period and try to be disciplined about it. And again, I've talked about this before. Most of us are either going to be late night eaters or we're going to be morning eaters. And there's usually a period there where you say to yourself, hey man, I can go in the morning, I'm okay, but I can't go at night or vice versa. For me, it's easier to go in the morning than it is at night. If I work all day, I come home, man, I'm going to raid that refrigerator. So everybody's different, right? But here's the thing. Pick that time period and stick with it, and then you can probably try to gain on that. Some people go 15, 16. I know people that are 24, 48 hours that they restrict food, and none of them seem to have weight issues, or they've certainly gone a long way to address whatever problem they have. So that to me is the first thing you can do. If you're 20, 30, 40, 50, even 100 pounds overweight or more, if you're worried about all the challenges that come with what everybody tries to advise you on, you're going to run 10 miles, you're going to hit the gym, and the next day you're so sore you feel like you're in a body cast. I get it, especially if you're getting older. So again, the intermittent fasting is to me the least taxing way that somebody can engage and embark on a weight loss program that is going to help them. Again, consult your doctor, which I am not. I'm telling you from my personal experience what's worked for me and what I've seen work for other people, and what I believe is the healthiest way to go about it. Incorporating the intermittent fasting is going to be the way that you're going to be able to lose 10, 15, 20 pounds. This is not going to happen overnight. So again, another way that you can really set yourself back is if you say, well, okay, Brent, I've been doing the intermittent fasting here. I've been doing it for a week and I haven't lost 20 pounds. Well, you're not gonna. So it's a caloric count, okay? You're restricting from where you were. If you're able to get this thing up to, say, 15 hours, you're starting, for instance, at 9 o'clock, and now we're going to that 11 or 12 o'clock the following day and tackling that 14, 15 hours. You think about it, you've got 10 hours, 9 hours, you can possibly even get it down to an 8-hour window where you're only eating for 8 hours. So just from a common sense perspective, if I can only eat for 8 or 10 hours, the likelihood is I'm going to consume less calories in 8 to 10 hours than I did in 12 to 14 or even 18 hours that some people go, and they just don't even realize that they're basically eating for that duration of time. So a lot of benefits here, a lot of benefits to the digestive system and the rest period that's going to get, etc. Again, commit to it. You're not going to see the results in a week. It's going to take a little while. Give this program 4 to 6 weeks and then see if you've lost the 8 to 10 pounds, which is monumental. 8 to 10 pounds is a big accomplishment irrespective of how much you weigh. Then at that point, now let's start talking about weight training, resistance. Let's start talking about hitting the cardio and doing some of the other things that we can do to lose weight to get you down to that level. Okay, so Susan, I hope that elongated answer there helped you out, but don't get frustrated. Everybody does. This is something we all have. We're all, at one time or another, you're very lucky that if you're not fighting this battle. And just by the way, everybody knows that skinny person that, they always look like they're thin and they can be 50 years old and they still weigh the same thing they did 30 years ago, which I'm sure all their friends are very frustrated by, even if they don't admit it. But here's the reality. I know these people. I know some of them. Here's the reality. When you get close to them and you talk to them or spend a lot of time around them, what you realize is they just don't consume as many calories as the rest of us. That's the reality. If you know somebody who's always been thin and they're thin and you really went around with them, you're going to find that they eat less calories than you do, and they probably eat less often. That's just the truth of the deal. So Susan, hang in there. I hope I gave you a jump start here with the intermittent fasting. That's my best advice if you've tried all these other things. Simple to incorporate. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but to me it's a lot better and a lot easier than, saying, well, you're going to go and you're going to get on this cycle where you're running 5 miles a day, or you're in the gym lifting every day and you're on a keto diet, and you've got all these dramatic changes that make it so that succeeding can be overwhelming, and it's just a challenge. Let's start somewhere easy where we can take some steps here. I appreciate the time again tonight. Brent McMahon 3 at TikTok, Brent McMahon 3 at Instagram, Brent McMahon's My 15 Minutes on YouTube. We'll look forward to the next section of this thing, which is going to be our weight loss video, where we will get into detail on cardio and some of the other things that we do as we try to advance this cause and stay in shape and beat the aging process with you guys, and appreciate it. Again, over and out. Thank you.